beware of false prophets. False. Be careful, be watchful of those that speak things that are not true. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit. But a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit. Neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them. Watch what they do and not what they say. These words in the 7th chapter of Matthew are the words of Jesus as he brings to a conclusion of his Sermon on the Mount. And from the beginning of the sermon to the end, Jesus gives encouragement, instruction, and warning concerning what it's going to take to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Jesus took his time and did his best to get the people to know the importance of living a God-pleasing life. The job of the Christian leader today, be it the pastor / the preacher, the missionary, the apostle, the prophet, or just another lay Christian, our job is to get the people to understand the importance of salvation. In order to get the people to understand what he was saying, what Jesus did was he used terms and illustrations that people could relate to. They understood clearly. When Jesus said, "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy." They understood that if I have an opportunity to be merciful to someone, it would be in my best interest to show mercy. Because that would cause God and his all-wise providence to be merciful unto me. They understood what Jesus said in the beginning of this sermon. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. How many of us have had the opportunity or privilege to mourn at some time or another? Look at what's happening in our nation today. I see over 200,000 people that have lost their lives. Think of the families that are mourning today. But Jesus said in his sermon, "Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted." Tell God thank you.
Thank you.
Jesus began to speak to them about light. He explained to them that you are the light of the world.
Yes.
So let your light shine Jesus further explained, you're a city that sit on a hill that cannot be hid. They could relate to a city being on a hill because they were well acquainted with that sacred city that was the well-known capital of Palestine, named by King David, also known as the city of David. It was the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem was situated on a hill. In other words, Jesus was saying in so many words, you may as well face it. The world is watching you. Jesus spoke in terms that could be understood. They were well aware of the act of giving. So Jesus, in that 6th chapter of Matthew, addressed their giving. Jesus told them to be careful in their alms giving, their charitable deeds, be it money to the poor, their prayers, or their righteous practices. Jesus told them to make sure not to make your giving a theatrical display just to win the applause of the people. You don't have to sound a trumpet. And you don't have to broadcast it on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, because that's what the hypocrites do. Then, in chapter 7, Jesus began to bring this magnificent, this all-powerful sermon to a close. He starts off by telling them in so many words to be careful how you treat one another. Don't go around casting judgment on anybody. Because while you're paying so much attention to someone else, you're not really taking a good look at yourself. They could relate to what a mote or a speck of dust looked like compared to a beam. Jesus said, why are you so concerned with the speck of dust in your brother's eye, and you really haven't dealt with the beam that's in your own eye? Then he gave them in verse 12 what we call the golden rule. You do unto others as you would others do unto you. In other words, Jesus was telling them, you treat people like you want people to treat you. Jesus went on to explain that whatever you do, what you really need to do is to strive to make every effort to enter in at the straight gate. He told them not to look for the gate that's wide or the way that's broad, because that's the way that leads to destruction. There will be a crowd traveling that way. But he said, what you should do is look for the way that's straight and narrow. You look for the way where there are some strict guidelines. Look for the way where there are some moral restrictions. It's a narrow way. It's a straight way. I heard somebody say it's tight, but it's right. It's not going to be a whole lot of folk, but just a few that are willing to give up the ways of the world and take up the cross. Lord, help me today. And follow me. Jesus went on to explain, and I'm almost finished, that there will be some that'll try to fool the pastor, try to fool the church mother, try to fool the first lady, try to fool other members. They'll come into the church on Sunday morning, all dressed up. They'll sing in the choir. They'll lead the devotional service. Have a lengthy answer to every Sunday school question. They'll even have the unmitigated gall to try to fool God. Jesus said in the words of our text, by their fruits you will know them. The fruit is what the tree produces. One may not be able to distinguish the tree by the bark of the leaves, but when it bears fruit, you will know it's an apple tree. When it bears fruit, you will know it's an orange tree. When it bears fruit, by their fruits, Bible says, Jesus says, you will know them. The tree may look one way on Sunday morning. What about Sunday evening? When the tree gets on Facebook, starts bearing some fruit. While I may not be an advocate of Facebook, I do understand that it can have some positive uses. We're using Facebook today. So then it does have some positive uses. But when we leave church, y'all bear with me, singing Zion's songs, reading from God's holy scripture, sometimes raising our hands in praise to God, then get on Facebook, use all kinds of vulgar language, post pictures of your body that should only be seen in the privacy of your bedroom. Then that becomes a display of your fruit. By their fruit, you will know them. Jesus said, a good tree won't bring forth bad fruit. Jesus' purpose for coming was to make the tree good. Scripture tells us in Matthew 16:24, then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up the cross and follow me. You're going to have to go through some things. You're going to have to bear some burdens. You're going to have some troubles in your life. Some trials in your life. But you have to deny yourself and follow me. Take up your cross. The problem is with many of us, while we want to follow Jesus, we may want to follow him. We may want to go to that place that Jesus prepared. That place where they say the streets are paved with gold. Yeah, that place where there's no more sickness. We want to go there. I know I do. That place where they say there's no more pain. I know I want to go there. That place where Jesus will wipe all the tears from your eyes. Yes, we may all want to go there. But are we willing to deny ourselves? When a person denies himself, what he has to do is he must be willing to surrender his will to the will of God. When a person denies himself, he must be willing to surrender his body and soul to the will of God. I'm a firm believer that when a person makes it up in his mind that he wants to live for God and is willing to surrender all to God, that God will gladly accept that person. The Apostle James explained it like this in the book of James, chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. James said, submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Somebody in this modern day picked that up and said, if you make one step, he'll make two. Tell the Lord thank you. So then, the purpose of Jesus' teaching, the purpose of his coming, was to make the tree good. Good tree can't bring forth evil fruit.
Yes, sir.
Neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit.
That's right.
What happens so many times is people get a misconception or a misunderstanding, and they feel that when someone starts addressing them for their sins, that they are really trying to judge them or condemn them. That's really not the case. Jesus said in the book of John, chapter 3 and verse 17, "For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved."
Yes, sir.
Jesus simply wants to make the tree good.
Yes, yes.
So that it will bring forth good fruit.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
We must remember that if we're professing to be children of God, we are like that city that sits on a hill where everybody can see it. The world is watching us.
Yes.
They will know us by the fruit we bear.
Yeah.
Paul described the fruit of the Spirit in the book of Galatians. He said, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love."
Yeah.
So when they see us expressing love,
Yeah.
when there's so much hate in the world, seem like one ethnic group hates another ethnic group. Love seems to be diminished. But when they see us expressing love in the midst of this confusion,
Yeah.
the fruit of the Spirit is joy. We can be happy when they think we ought to be sad. Peace. And we pursue peace and bring peace in the midst of the confusion. Oh, they'll know us by our fruit.
Yeah.
Long suffering and gentleness,
Yeah.
goodness and faith and
Yeah.
meekness
Yeah.
and temperance.
Yes.
Paul said, "Against such there is no law." In other words, you can have as much meekness as you want. You can have as much temperance as you want. You can have all the goodness and peace in the world. You can have as much long suffering as you want. Against such there is no law.
Yeah.
Watch what they do and not what they say. By their fruits, Jesus says, you'll know them.
Yeah.
Said in the beginning that we're living in a political climate, and we need to understand that it is not only our right, but it is our responsibility to go out and vote for the candidate of our choice.
Yes.
Watch what they do and not what they say. Sometimes the candidates might say some things, but you watch what they do and not what they say. Sometimes candidates will come to us in sheep's clothing, but you watch what they do and not what they say. Oh, behind the sheep's clothing, they are like ravening wolves. They are coming to destroy us. Watch what they do and not what they say. By their fruits, you will know them. Oh my God. Well, watch what they do. When you make your decision on the candidate of your choice, watch what they do and not what they say. I'm going in today.
Yes, sir.
But I want you to know something. They know you by your fruits. You can know them by their fruit. Watch what the tree bears.